Yes, I believe in you. You believe in me. I believe that we can make our dreams a reality. Welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People on WOLD 1010 Baltimore. We're so happy to have each and every one of you here. Thank you for joining us, as so many of you do every Sunday. Many of you join us on Sundays at 3:30 on Spirit 1400. And many of you join us here on Mondays at 11:30. So we welcome you here and thank you for your support. And you know what? So it seems to be more support because we're seeing you showing up at places where we announce we've got things going on, and big shout outs to a number of people in the city, and I'll get to those. But before I do that, I would like to introduce to you, let's just say hello to my co-anchors. Please say hello to Mr. James C. Morant.
Good morning, Baltimore. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. And you?
I tell you what, God is good, and we're going to pass the plate up in here and throw in, instead of taking stuff out, we're going to put stuff in, and it's a Thanksgiving for another day that we woke up clothed.
All my change.
In my right mind, in our right minds. And some of us a reasonable portion of health, some of us not in good health, but we're here. So look upon this day with positivity. Find a way to smile.
Amen.
Kind of forgive yourself and forgive everybody else, and have a good day. Don't let nothing bother you. The rain is falling, so it's feeling the thirst of the earth. Everything was dry. Y'all know I love to garden, and my garden was looking pretty poorly. And the water bills, I ain't trying to run it up, so I wasn't doing that. So we're thankful for the rain whenever it falls, and be careful out there because we're hearing some of the roads are flooded out. But please also welcome my co-host, Mr. Richard Terry. How are you, Richard?
Oh, I'm here. It's been a fun day for me.
Yeah, a fun day. Well, we're going to get into more fun as we go. And Jason, I need you to lock Leo in for me. I'm going to go ahead and but I don't want to lose. Okay, lock. And I'm going to hit Leo. They're both locked. Leo Burrows Jr., how are you today, sir?
Well, good morning, everybody, and praise the Lord, and pass the ammunition for justice, decency, and fair play.
Yes, we know that's what you do everywhere you go. I know y'all hear Leo on everybody's radio show. He's called, you can't miss him. His voice is so distinctive. And you know he's a singer, so his voice projects. Every time he says something on the phone, I have to pull the microphone back because it distorts, because he's got a powerful voice, powerful imagination, and a great worker in our community. Please say hello also to Jason Rodriguez, our co-producer, and just Renaissance man. He can just do anything, and we love him and thank him for all the great work that he does for us here at Patrick Henderson's Meet the People, and now an employee with Radio 1. How are you today, Jason?
I'm blessed to be here in presence of so many great people, and just want to remind everyone we're now streaming live on Facebook, Periscope, as well as YouTube, so you can get an opportunity to see everyone this morning in their glory, including the great, illustrious Patrick Henderson.
Oh, man, bless you for those kind words. I tell you, illustrious, whatever God has given me, I tell you, man, I've always found to find a way to use it for Him. My mother told me, as many of you know, I was assaulted many years ago and lost my hands, the use of my hands, and in their full capacity. And I was laying there in the bed one day, and she said to me, she says, you know, you've been a blessing to the family. You've done some incredible things. Whenever I called you, you were there. She said, and you thought it was always you that was doing these things. She said, but God wants you to know that it was Him all the time. And because you've lost the capacity to use your hands, He wants you to know that He's going to continue to take care of you, just like you took care of your family. And God has done it. So I'm sitting here today. I've been in Baltimore now 20 years and didn't intend to stay here. I moved here to go into business, and the business didn't come through, and something said, stay here. And who knew what God had planned for me in this city? I could have left anytime. I really can live anywhere in the world I'd like to live. God has been good to me. But I chose to stay here. My mother never understood that, especially after I was attacked. But my work with children, my work with community, with my community, my work in my church, I have some of the best friends in the world. As many of you know, I've just been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Weekly updates on my Facebook page about the therapy and how I'm doing, and I'm doing very well. No pain. In fact, I don't even realize they're treating me. I just lay there on that incredible table with this proton therapy as they treat me with lasers. You can't see the lasers or anything. And I've been updating everybody on Facebook and telling people to check it out, because I notice in the waiting rooms, 95% of the people in there are white. And I asked them, how did you find out about proton therapies? 85% said that their doctors told them. How many of our doctors have told us about this therapy? We know that historically black people are not treated on the same level that white people are in our hospitals, even in our medical care, period. And many of us are afraid of doctors and we avoid them. But you can't do that. You got to find one that you can trust, one that you can speak up to take care of you. Yes, God gives us the oxygen to breathe, but he puts the knowledge into the hands of these doctors to help heal us. And I just wanted to thank over 1,000 views of my progress reports just this past Friday, of people saying thank you for the information they did not know. I asked them to share it. I want you to share it. If you're suffering from cancer, I don't care whether it's terminal, I don't care what kind of cancer it is. If you're on chemotherapy, I don't care what is going on. Breast cancer, especially our men, black men, prostate cancer is the number one killer of black men, but it is one of the most treatable cancers. But we don't go because we don't like the area they have to examine, which is our rectum and our rectal area. Buddy, let me tell you, if the back part ain't working right, the front part ain't gonna work right. So y'all need to just come out of it and go and take care of yourselves. But before we move any further, I just wanted everybody, if you're near a radio and you're not driving, if you got your phone in your hand, I want everybody to bow their heads, and I want to pray for us, pray for our city. Oh God, our Father, Lord, we love you so much. We bless you, Lord, for the air that we breathe, the air that woke us up this morning, oh, that quickened our minds, quickened our hearts, and quickened our spirits to get up and start our day. We thank you for that energy. We thank you for that strength, oh God. We ask you to bless this day, this first day of the week, oh God. Somebody can't get out of the bed because they're sick. We want you to touch them, Lord, and encourage their hearts, oh Lord. Let your healing love power just run over them right now, from the crowns of their heads to the soles of their feet, oh God. Some mother's worried about how she's going to feed her babies when they get home, oh God. They're somewhere, maybe she doesn't even know where they are, but it's raining, oh God. Oh Lord, help her. Give her vision, oh God. Give her peace, oh Lord. Make the way, oh God. Help her to see that the way is there. She has but to ask. And not to get discouraged when people don't want to help, oh God, but just keep seeking and knocking. Because we know that you have touched somebody that will ask you to bless their golden years. Let them have peace. Let them find rest. Let them find love, oh God. Let them find laughter, oh God, in their spirits. Oh God, we ask you really right now in a special way to touch our children, touch the mayor of the city, touch the police commissioner, and touch our governor. Lord, touch this state, oh God. Touch us, Lord, in a way that we become more mindful of you. And when we become more mindful of you, then we realize that you are defined as love. And love, without love, we are nothing. Without love, there is no God. There is no God without love. We bless each and every one of you and thank you for this time together. In thy Son, Jesus Christ's name, I pray. Amen. 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 And amen. All right, we're moving right ahead. We've got a great show lined up for you. I was at the protest rally in the front of City Hall for Poe Homes a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed this young man had on a shirt that said Progressive Maryland, building power for working families. And of course, I wanted to, the word progressive first attracted me, but when he said working families, I knew I had to know who he was and find out what he was all about. Please welcome Malcolm. What is your last name?
Heflin.
Well, hold on. Well, let me get your mic. I'm doing all this talking and ain't doing my engineering job.
Perfect.
Michael Heflin?
Malcolm Heflin, that's correct.
Heflin?
Yeah. Like Heflin, Alabama.
I like Hugh Heflin?
Mm-mm.
No,
Like Van Heflin.
Heflin.
That's correct.
And how does Hugh Heflin spell his name? E-N?
Hefner.
Hefner. See there?
No, you're talking Van Heflin, Patrick, the actor.
Oh, the actor.
Right.
I ain't had my coffee this morning, so y'all pray for me, okay?
We'll help you out.
Will you help me? I'm going to need it. Malcolm, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Please tell us who your organization is, and what you do.
So, I am one of the chapter leads for the Baltimore chapter of Progressive Maryland. And like I said, as the t-shirt says, it's building power for working families. Part of our mission and charge in the city is to work on projects and work and adopt campaigns to be able to give citizens of Baltimore a voice. As we said many times at the Poe Homes rally, far too often, ordinary citizens in the city don't have a voice, especially citizens of color. And that's just one of our many missions that we have, is to try to give all those people a voice in how other cities run, and honestly in a way that their lives are ordered.
Do you find, though, that there are only a few? Are you surprised at the number of people that don't speak up and speak out in Baltimore? The lack of voting, participation. I contend it's not apathy. They've just really given up hope. We elect these people and they get in there and switch and bait on us. So people have decided. In fact, there's a gentleman that I have much respect for who's telling people not to vote. And I'm telling y'all, don't listen to him. Whatever you do not listen to him. Don't listen to him. I'm not going to latch on to that. But how do you prompt and how do you get involved in your projects to help the people? Do the people prompt you? How do you know that there are things that need to be done that you can be a part of? What piques your interest?
Well, a big part of that is going out into the communities, especially, you have certain issues that we, try to organize or work with, and going out into the communities and talking to people on their doorsteps. One of the hallmarks of at least progressive politics as it stands now, one of the big things is a critical part is going out and talking to people on the doors and hearing what they have to say about it. Because it's not about, with many things, it's not about forcing any ideas on people. It's about hearing out what they have to say and
their needs.
Exactly. It doesn't. In far too many cases, you'll have people just helicopter into lower income neighborhoods and just kind of sell a bunch of ideas, which has been
no solutions.
Exactly.
I heard that. Well, listen, we don't have a bunch of time, but you're here in particular because of something that is going on at Johns Hopkins. They're always in the news. One of the richest institutions in America. I think who is it? Bloomberg gave them how many billions? They they have so much money. They're probably one of the most well-endowed institutions in America, but they're doing something that your organization that you feel is not only as egregious, but they should be ashamed of. Could you tell us what that is?
Right. So, Progressive Maryland is a part of a coalition working in the city. It's called Coalition for Humane Hopkins. There's a bunch of different progressive organizations in the city a part of this. And what we're doing is that we're fighting Hopkins to have them in their immoral practice of suing low-income patients for medical debt or for alleged medical debt. And what do I mean by that?
Hold on. Someone has a television on that's playing. Sounds like a horse race is going on.
No, that's mine, Patrick.
Could you please turn it off?
I did.
Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
Go ahead, Mom.
And what I mean by alleged debt is many times people will show up to seek medical care, and Hopkins will not inform them that they may or do qualify for charity care, either free medical care or medical care at a deeply reduced rate. They'll go through the process of getting their care, and then after that, what Hopkins will do is they will seek to try to recoup their costs from these patients.
They don't tell them that those discounts or those other things are available.
No, they won't. A lot of these patients weren't aware that they qualify for these programs at all. like Hopkins currently gets about $14 million to provide charity care to low-income patients. Last year, they only spent $10 million
out of $14
million, right? Just from the profits alone, they could have cleared the medical debt from almost all the people that they sued to try to recoup these costs.
They're suing these people.
They're seeking either wage garnishments or property garnishments.
What?
Right.
Property garnishment.
So basically, this means either A, they will either take people to court and will basically talk to their employers to garnish their wages on that side, or on the property side, they will take people to court and take money out of their accounts.
Wow.
And people will not realize that this has happened to them many times until they look at their bank accounts and they see that they have very little money.
They're real.
Right. Furthermore, and I actually just learned this too. Usually with wage garnishments by law, they can only take up to 25% of wage garnishments per check. But property garnishments, you don't have that same restriction.
Wow.
Right. So so they can take way more than 25% of a check.
What is the percentage of people that? How many people are we talking about here? Do you know?
Yes, I do. Give me just a second. We're talking about I'll say here. So since 2009, there have been over 2,400 lawsuits that they filed. We're talking about for median amounts about $1,400, which, as you understand, low income neighborhoods like that's $1,400 is not something that's just something you're not going to miss that. I mean,
Right.
you're going to notice that when it's gone.
What has been sort of like come to Jesus for them, and have you guys gone in there and said this is unbelievable that you're doing it, you're not making these people aware that there are ways to pay for this, and because of your history in this city,
right,
we can start with Henry.
Right.
We can start with that. Have they paid her family? No.
Oh, no, they haven't.
No, they haven't paid. They put up a statue of her, okay? And she revolutionized cancer treatment.
They've named a street after her.
Named a street after her. They've
Station.
done nothing. Bloomberg gave them, I believe if it wasn't $10 billion, it was a stupid amount of money.
Right.
So they have all this money and a sordid history. When I first moved to Baltimore, people say, whatever you do, if something happens to you, do not let them take you to Hopkins.
Right.
That was the word. The history says that Bob Hopkins used to go out at night with a wagon, and black people would come up missing.
Right. I mean, it's definitely something that you'll still hear, like I said, around East Baltimore now, even nowadays.
Right.
I mean, it's still something
You won't hear it that much because most of East Baltimore is gone.
Right.
Because Hopkins has demolished most of East Baltimore.
Most of East Baltimore. So I heard a guy on Al Sharpton's show today said we're still enslaved. We're still enslaved. They do it. It's not concentrated in just one area, like working in cotton fields, but in other areas because of the 14th Amendment. And we should face up to that. And when you think of an organization as large as Hopkins, with a history as sordid as it is, and as James Morant, they took his mother's house that she lived in for 65 years.
Yeah,
and I know she's not the only one.
They took my father-in-law's house as well.
Exactly. So these people are really a cancer on this city.
Yeah.
And it's a terminal cancer because this has been going on for decades. When they first built the hospital, they built a wall so black people couldn't get near their property. Give me a break.
Well, and it's crazy because, I mean, the original mission, apparently, from the hospital was to serve the low-income citizens of Baltimore. I mean, it is amazing when you hear that and you fast forward how many times they've immorally and unjustly violated, like, this thing that they say they're trying to do for the city.
And what's his name? Antero Patello? Is that his name, Jason? He wrote a book.
Not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard, but then he wrote another one called Not in My Neighborhood. And he wrote another one.
Actually, he wrote two books. Not in My Neighborhood, How Bigotry Created a Great American City. Okay. And he also just wrote recently The Ghost of John Hopkins.
Right. Now, we've had him on the show to talk about that book.
Yeah.
And he contends that John Hopkins was a pure heart. But the people that came in, the administrators, were the ones that were so eaten up with racism that they set forth all these policies. And after he was gone, they had full run. And he contended that was not initially the motivation, as you've just stated, of setting this hospital up. We've got a witness that James, go ahead. I'm going to pull up.
I'm just wondering, at what point could Hopkins have changed its policy? For example, when you go to the emergency room and there's an intake process, That intake process includes paperwork that says, yeah, I'm going to be responsible for the bill, or I have insurance or whatever. Why isn't it that Hopkins can, at that point, at the point of intake, say there are charity facilities available for people like you if you do not have the resources? That is the $1 million question.
Honestly, that's the $1 million question. That's the question that we asked them as well. Why aren't you informing people at the point when they would need to know that they qualify for these programs?
Because even in an emergency room, even if you're not going to a doctor at the facility itself, if you're coming in on an emergency basis, there is still an intake process, no matter what. And so I don't understand why we are at this place now where these people have not been informed. And I was very shocked by the 2,000 people that were being sued. I mean, it's just unconscionable.
It's appalling. Yeah,
James,
it's appalling.
If I may.
Yes.
I would suggest I would offer up. I'm thinking a lot of their people in their intake as they're coming in to be triaged and set up for whatever type of visit that it's going to be. A lot of those triage people, they don't even know about a lot of those programs.
How can they not know?
Well, they compartmentalize everything.
All right, hold on for a moment. This young lady has got to go, but she is a witness. Lakeisha?
Yes.
Hi, how are you this morning?
I'm fine. Good morning, everyone.
All
Good
right.
morning.
I understand that you've had some bad experiences, that you're one of the ones that is being sued.
I'm one of the ones that had property garnishment.
Oh. And what did that entail? How did you find out that they had garnered your property?
When I checked my bank account to pay a bill, and it was cleared completely out.
No. They never sent you a forewarning?
No, they didn't send me anything. It's just I checked my bank account, and everything was gone.
Unbelievable. I didn't know that was legal.
I didn't
either. No, that's something new on me.
Isn't, but Hopkins lawyers can,
No, they can't. No, they can't. They can't do that. That's against the law.
Especially not notify anybody.
Exactly. You sure you didn't get a notice? You're absolutely positive, huh?
I am absolutely positive I did not get a notice.
And how long ago was this?
It started on April the 8th.
Of this year?
Yes.
How much? Do you mind me asking how much the bill was?
They say I owe around $5,000.
$5,000.
And so they're going to keep garnishing your wages until that $5,000 is paid?
Well, no. Thanks to the coalition, I was able to put in a motion that they can't take, if I have less than $6,000 in my account, they can't take it. So we found that through the legal aid downtown and put in the paperwork.
This is
But you had to do the discovery.
And,
Yes.
and my question is, where was the court order authorizing Hopkins to do it?
Yes. Was there a court
I
order?
got that a week later.
What? After they did it?
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
Right. And honestly, it's just stuff like this where it's all this obfuscation, basically, in order so people don't understand the benefits that they're entitled to.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You don't know exactly what will happen to you until you actually go through it.
Richard, is that how do they get away with that?
Well, I'm incredulous that there should have been a hearing before a judge could have found in favor of the hospital and ordered the garnishment. And if this young lady was not at that hearing, then there's something wrong, because she should have been notified that the hearing was coming up with regards to the debt, because that has to go through civil court down on Fayette and Gay Street.
And they do know how to send certified letters.
Yeah.
So this is very surprising.
If you have a court case involving a debt, they do send the notice to your house.
They have to, don't they?
They should.
It would appear.
I would think that would be, I've never heard of anything like this. How would they go in there and not even let you know? So you knew that you owed the money, Miss Lakeisha?
At first, I didn't know that I owed Hopkins because I had insurance. So whenever I went, no one never said anything.
You had insurance?
Yes, I had insurance through my job, which, as far as I know, was good insurance because I never got a bill or anything. Then about last year or something, I did get court papers to go to court. I couldn't take off because I'm the only income coming into my household. I take care of my mom and my son. It's only me. So I couldn't take off for them to just win the case anyway. Now,
but is that when the judgment was handed down?
That's probably when it was. They won by default.
Yeah. If you didn't go to
but
court.
I would think that the garnishment part would come later.
No, that would once they got the judgment, they could do anything.
Once they got the default, the judge can order automatic at that point.
Yeah, if you didn't show up.
Court in September. The garnishment didn't happen until April. That's when I got the paperwork.
Oh man. Why? You say you couldn't get off from work? You couldn't tell your boss you had to go to court? They wouldn't let you out?
That's going to miss. You know how much money I can miss by one day?
Was it?
I'm the only person making income.
Yeah, I know, but $5,000. They took. That's what they're saying you owed, and they took all of your money. So.
And plus, don't forget there's the attorney's fees and interest added in too.
So that's how that judgment ended up. That's how that happened. Well, we will regret that happened to you, Malcolm. Are there more people like her?
There are tons of people. I mean, there was a woman I talked to on one of our last canvases that was that had a judgment of $900 against her, and she wasn't even aware of it. I was the one who had to tell her that news.
Wow.
And there are many people who do the same things. We do, like our coalition, we do monthly canvases, and and there are a lot of people who don't find out that they've been judged against until we tell them.
Wow. Hold it right there. Lakeisha, thank you so much. I'm so sorry that happened to you, but thank you for calling in. We appreciate it. All right, sweetheart. Bye-bye. You're listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Don't touch that dial. We've got a commercial to go to, and we'll be right back as soon as we can get there. Here. Bye.
And you cannot afford to lose your way. You come too far from where you started. So please don't let...
WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore. Brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel.
The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers.
It's done unto you as you believe. It's done unto you as you believe.
I'm gonna get there, yes, somehow. It's my way.
Welcome back to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Well, that was a sad case. Malcolm, you were saying, to bring you up to date, in case you're just tuning in, we're talking about Johns Hopkins Hospital is suing people for medical bills and not making those people aware that there are other ways to pay those bills when they bring them, when the people are admitted into the hospital. And so they don't tell them about them. Then they go and they sue them. And as many of you know, Johns Hopkins is one of the richest medical facilities in the world. They own half of East Baltimore. They have a long history of racism. They have a long history of experimentation. They have a long history of using black people as guinea pigs, and then not paying them nor their families, even when they bring about revolutionary genes and cells that they can use. If Henrietta Lacks was white, she would be the savior of the world. But Johns Hopkins made sure that nobody even knew that she even existed without a reporter going in there and finding out that they had taken this woman's genes or cells, I don't know what's proper, cells, and created all sorts of vacuums and cures for things. So we know that they have a sordid history, so we're not surprised. Malcolm, you were saying.
Oh yeah, I was saying that, like I said, many people don't find out until our canvassers go and talk to them, tell them that there have been judgments against them.
How do you find these people?
So we have lists. We go through court records and find people who have been sued like that. That's how we gather that information.
Mm-hmm.
So just through public records.
Through public records. We got callers 410-481-1010, 410-481-1010. You're listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Go ahead, Richard.
Patrick?
Yes. Oh, hi, Leo. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got a question for Mr. Malcolm Heflin. Are you receiving any sympathetic support in terms of your coalition's effort, Progressive Maryland, from the NAACP or Urban League or church groups, the Interdenominational Ministers Alliance, in pushing back against the tyranny the overt racism and viciousness of Johns Hopkins University. They've had, as Patrick said, they have a history of exploitation and ripping off poor and black folks. And I'm just wondering, what kind of response are you getting from elected officials in Baltimore City at the level of the city council or the mayor in supporting your initiative, your fight for justice for the poor and the black?
That's a very good question. Everyone that we've talked to, and many of the organs that we've talked to in the city, once they hear the story and they hear about what these practices from Hopkins, I mean, obviously they're incensed. As far as elected officials, the response has mixed. There are many who are definitely like that are focused on social justice issues and fight for social justice issues that are cooperating in any way they can to help us out. There are some others who understand that, but at the same time, through interests or donations or just general support, we've received, I would say, a lukewarm response.
And unfortunately, I hate to say this, because Hopkins is the biggest employer in the city of Baltimore, that wields a whole lot of clout and influence. And there will be many politicians who do not want to buck the system.
Right. It's unfortunately true.
Can I ask a couple of questions? Number one, what is your process? You say you go to court records and then you start identifying people that you should talk to. Walk me through what Progressive Maryland does with respect to Hopkins.
Well, it's not obviously. Well, so first off, the coalition isn't. We're only just a part of it, right? Okay. The coalition is led by NNU, the National Nurses United. It's like the largest nursing unit in the country. They're the organization that helps to. They've done the research for this. They are the ones who have people who go through the court records and gather the lists and the names. So I don't want to necessarily speak like in specifics to them because that's done outside of our organization.
Okay.
But toward our ends, like I said, we've drafted a demand letter actually. As far as like we're talking about like action points as to like things that we are wanting to adjust or end. Actually, I will say this. This is a slip of my mind. So we actually have actions that we do, right? So one of the things that we did about a month ago is we did a march on the boss. Basically, we had a demand letter, the one I have in my hand here, and basically we basically attempted to try to talk to the president of Hopkins, basically to give him the demands on this is what's going on, and this is what we want to work with you on. These are the practices that you want to end. All right. Also, there's a rally in July that we have that we're planning on July 20th from 2 to 3:30 in front of Hopkins, basically to highlight this. The main point of this is we basically use a lot of our work through this coalition to basically put pressure on Hopkins in order for them to adjust what they're doing.
Have you ever won any of these arguments, or if this is your first time encountering them? And what is this nurse? Hold up, I'm going to get to the calls. 410-481-1010.
And Patrick, and I had a question too as to whether or not they were involved in any of the demonstrations or protests in relations to the Hopkins police.
Yes, we have been, and actually some of our coalition members are have that, actually, including many of the students that were participants in the police force protest.
Mark, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment?
Hey, how you doing, Pat?
Well, I'm still waiting for my call. I called you the other night, and I still haven't heard from you. What up with that?
Did you? I'm sorry, brother. We have definitely family been dealing with a lot of that.
Okay.
The funeral's today at 3:30. But look, check this out. Pat, I'm glad you're doing this show, and I'll get back to you, brother.
Okay.
And I'm glad you're doing this show. And not only that, I'm glad you said what you said. And me and Umar Box and Marvin will be on 5 o'clock this Sunday digging into some things. But I'm glad you said what you said when you first came on about the voting, because I respect that brother too. But I know how important voting is.
Yes, sir.
You can get upset with your local government. I am at the way they're spending, not spending their money and treating us like they are, But I also always want to push back because the grassroots and the people that have organizations and things in this city, they don't get a lot of shine and stuff like that. And I'm glad you're doing this, Pat. And also, I didn't get a chance to be over at your spot for your recital this time.
Oh, we didn't have it. Yeah. Go ahead.
I went the first time, and it was awesome. But I want to push back because people that listen to this radio talking about they're more likely to vote for Trump that had not a lot of talking to in Baltimore about we ain't student loan. I don't know where this brother.
Who you talking about? Now I'm speaking directly, and I hope he's listening. Brother David Johnson is the one that's telling people not to vote, and I think that's just not.
He calls himself Money. So I know his name, but I'm not going to mention it. But this brother, every chance he gets, he calls himself chastising us. We're successful people. Most of the people in Baltimore are successful.
Yes. Only 23% of Baltimore lives in poverty. So we know that. But come on, did you have anything to say about John Hopkins? Thank you for all the other information. I appreciate it.
This is what I got to say about him, man. Y'all keep putting him on blast, and y'all keep the good work up, and I'm going to listen.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
I'll call you later.
Yeah, call me later. Thank you. All right, we got to go to Janet. Janet, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment?
Hi, Patrick. I just some information that I'd like to share and a question I'd like to answer.
Go right ahead.
I interviewed for a job at Johns Hopkins one time, and part of the interview process on payroll, they told me that they collect overpayments on when they accidentally overpay an employee, they'll go after the hourly worker and get the money back, but they won't go after the doctor, and that's a part of their procedure. They just don't do it. So I'm betting that when it comes to these doctor bills and all this kind of stuff, it's only certain people they go after. They don't go after everybody. And my next thing is, if Hopkins has all this money, why do they need Maryland citizens to pay for their police department? Why don't they pay for it themselves? My last question to this gentleman, and maybe he can tell me off air, I thought in the state of Maryland, as long as you were paying your bill, that they could not, or they would not take you to court, and they couldn't mess with your credit rating if you were paying the bill.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that normal?
Is that still true?
Well, I've heard many cases of people who actually don't even know that they have bills. I mean, like we just heard, some people have insurance, and they assume that the insurance will cover it, and then they find out all too late that it didn't. Honestly, that's just
Hopkins, and I was paying them, but they still messed with my credit rating.
Wow,
and
really?
I don't think they took me to court because I haven't gotten any bills, any notices from them. But I was paying them what I could afford to pay them. Didn't satisfy them because they had some other scale they wanted me to go by. But I paid them what I could pay them because I thought as long as I was paying them something consistently, that I would be okay.
Right, that's normal.
My credit.
That's normal, as long as you're paying any kind of.
But she's saying that they ruined her credit anyway.
And you were paying them. Well, with the racism, like you said, the idea that they don't. They want to. The people who do the hard work, like the nurses and the staff people who do, they would work bother their pay, but not the doctors.
Right.
Well, these are supposedly elite doctors, aren't they? Because they're at Johns Hopkins. So is it that they don't want to rile them, or is it just duplicity and truly the nature? Let us never forget, what was his name? Vivian Green. They ended the black man.
Yeah.
Who did they were? What would they call it? The babies were dying of something they called blue.
The blue babies.
The blue babies. And this black man was an assistant to a doctor. He was not a doctor, and he figured out how to save these babies. And they never gave him credit for it until he became an old man. And finally, the doctor admitted that he had lied, that it was Vivian's ideas and his systems that started to save the babies.
And all they gave him was a picture on the wall.
And all they gave him was a picture on the wall. So
and I was a full-grown adult before I even knew about it.
Before of course.
They don't teach it.
Well, they don't teach it, but folks don't know it. Folks don't talk. People tell me, you tell too much. Sweetheart, get on away from me, because if you're that dumb and not want to listen to somebody, I don't even want to know you.
Patrick,
that's what's wrong with us. Hurry up. Come on, Rich.
You got to realize Hopkins has a caste system there.
Has had. It's historically
It
so.
has a caste system. And it's been in place for a long time. And what I was trying to say, a lot of reasons that a lot of the personnel don't know what's going on because they compartmentalize everything. And billing and social work are probably the two big people that would know all about every program that is available to every patient that comes in there.
Wow, we can't.
But the problem is that they're not advising the patient upon intake,
Yes,
and that's
that is
the
one of
issue
the
that I was
huge
trying to get
problems.
to.
That is one of the huge problems.
There must be some system or some organization that could be reported to.
They really should.
To get it corrected,
JCO.
if nothing more. What is it called?
JCO.
JCO, what is the acronym? Do you know what it means?
That's the Joint Accreditation for Hospitals organization.
Joint Accreditation for
Hospitals.
How do you-
JACHO.
Oh, JACHO. See, y'all see why we got Richard. We bless you, my man. You know, I hope you're feeling well today, Lord. We got to keep you healthy because you are a walking library and information. JACO and Malcolm just wrote it down.
No,
so
sure.
And because what they do, because they have to accredit just about every hospital in the state of Maryland.
Yeah.
And if you put enough pressure on JACO to go after Hopkins, maybe Hopkins can change their policies.
Hopkins needs to change the policy. It's
I
not
think
fair.
it's JCAH, Joint Commission on the Accreditation of Hospitals.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm
Say it again.
dyslexic today.
Joint Commission on the Accreditation of Hospitals.
Okay, JACO. All right, Janet, are you good?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart. With someone with the name Patrick. Patrick, how are you? Welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Patrick? Hello, welcome. You have a question or comment?
Thank you for taking my call.
No problem.
I can't comment much on the treatment of minorities at Johns Hopkins, but I did have an experience that I'd like to share. I had a 12-centimeter abscess on my back that turned out being a MRSA infection. And when I arrived at the emergency room, I was invited to participate in a study that would ultimately pay me $50 per visit for them to examine a particular antibiotic. Well, they did pay me $50 per visit, but then they billed me over $100 per visit later, and that was something I had to end up negotiating with the billing agency. But the main point that I want to make is that you mentioned earlier that Johns Hopkins has a questionable history of experimentation, and they do tout themselves as a research hospital. But my problem with them is that they seem to be approaching people in the emergency room and inviting them to participate in these purportedly lucrative opportunities to engage in research that I think is totally inappropriate. When people go to the emergency room, that's an emergency. They don't need to be diverted to a Johns Hopkins research program. In my particular case, I entered with a huge abscess that when I investigated with the funding agency, with NIH, I found out that my abscess vastly exceeded the exclusionary criterion. I should have not been accepted with an abscess above 5 centimeters in diameter. Mine was 12.
Wow.
Right.
And they accept
so
what?
I ended up submitting a formal complaint to NIH, a number of offices there that supported the study, and then I contacted the Baltimore Department of Health, and I contacted the journals that each of the investigators that I was aware of had previously published in, and I received a unanimous response from each of the journal editors that they would not accept any paper that emerged from this Stop MRSA program.
Wow.
Okay, so although I said that I can't comment much on their treatment of minorities, I do feel that they are predatory and basically engaging people in their experimental research. They should not be approaching people in the emergency room
Absolutely.
to get involved in their studies.
What is
and
the word?
I did end up sending a letter with this concern to the NAACP.
Did you get a response?
I don't think I did get a response from NAACP, but I did get a response from every one of my representatives, congressmen and senators. So and they all investigated it, and I did get a response from the Baltimore City Health Department, which interestingly, had a number of people from Johns Hopkins on their board, on their committee, on their panel.
Yeah, they have a
So
lot of
didn't really see that as valid.
long tentacles.
But I would only caution people about getting involved in studies that emerge from emergency room visits.
Absolutely.
That should not be the place where they approach people.
They're in a, so the word is duress, isn't it? If you're in there for an emergency and they come at you, you'll say, "I'll do anything.
Right.
Just take care of me. I'm hurting. Thank you so much. Do you normally listen to my show?
Every day. I'm a first-time caller.
Thank you for calling, and thank you for that information. Thank you so much. Okay, Jay.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. I was wondering why there has not been a major whistleblower on Johns Hopkins.
Because they're afraid of them.
That's the short answer.
Johns Hopkins is a power. I mean, Johns Hopkins has eliminated an entire community in East Baltimore. And so to think that one person or two people or a coalition could deal with an institution that has 20-some thousand employees is...
And that much money.
And all of the money that you can never spend.
Right.
It is rolling a boulder up a hill.
Right. But the thing to keep in mind here is, and especially this kind of goes back to almost where we started talking about progressivism and progressive politics. One of the other ideas that underlines it is the fact that the best way to counter money is people power.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's why the work that we do in this coalition is so important, because it is about, like I said, it's about putting as much pressure on Hopkins as possible, but it's also about taking the fight to communities and rooting it in the communities that are being affected. Like I said, if you don't understand, that's, like I said, that's one of the most effective ways to that, because these are the people who are being affected, and to hear all of them collectively raise their voices about this issue, and helping that out is to
Hopkins also doesn't like bad publicity.
I know that.
They hate it. Yeah. Like there was a Sun article that was a really big Sun article that dropped, I would say, about a month ago, talking about this practice, and right after that, within a day or two, Kevin Sowers came out and said, "Well, we're gonna cease this. We're gonna cease the process of this. We're gonna review our cases and see what's going on." And honestly, even after that, the young woman who just called in earlier, they tried to seek judgment after her, even after that statement was put out. Right. So it's one of the things where, like, it's nice to hear all these statements from Johns Hopkins saying, "Oh, we're gonna go look into this," and yada yada yada. But how many times have they shown themselves to not be good faith actors in anything that they say?
It's their history.
They are relentless.
They are relentless. Yeah. Thomas, we're going to go. We got two more calls, and then we're going to shift because we have a special guest that I would like to. Yes.
How you guys doing?
We're well. How are you?
Listen, man, Johns Hopkins has been given free reign to do what it wants to do. And
by whom? By whom?
By Thomas Branch, Young, and by Corey McCray, and the rest of them that sits on Johns Hopkins board. Okay.
Oh.
They've been given free reign to do what they want to do. Okay. Everybody knows Thomas Branch and his brother Warren Branch, who's a council member, are controlled by Pat McDonald and Johns Hopkins Hospital.
Say that again.
Thomas Branch, who's a delegate, his brother Warren Branch, who's a city council person, and Corey McCray. They all sit on these boards at Johns Hopkins, guys. They sit back and let Johns Hopkins do what they want to do to these communities under you might as well say under eminent domain, because these folks have been bought and paid for by Johns Hopkins.
Let
me clarify something.
Okay.
The views and the opinion I just give is that of Thomas.
Okay.
Not the Patrick Henderson Meet the People show, this station, or its management.
Yeah, because I was getting ready to play the disclaimer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brother Thomas.
Thomas, that's interesting. So, Malcolm, have you all approached the politicos on this situation? Have you talked to Corey McCray? Have you bothered to look and see?
I think he's gone.
The board?
Somebody dropped.
Thomas did. Have you all done that? Have you looked in to see if you have some political power you could bring in to because it's such a notorious practice?
Right. So I don't want to speak directly to that because that is like the one of the heads of the of our coalition, NNU. They are the ones that they tend to do the talking to the politicians, the elected officials. But what I have heard, and as I said before, the response that we've gotten has been across the board. Many, some of the electeds are honestly they ride hard. And once they hear about this, they want to do whatever they can to try to help us out. But there are many others who, once you talk to them, they're like, well, yeah, that's really good. But then you can tell that their response is lukewarm. I mean, and / you get the sense that they understand that either A, they are probably in Hopkins' pockets, or B, because of Hopkins' their influence, and their influence on the east, on the east side and in the States. They don't want to take them on.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, we're going to go to Gene right quick. Gene, you have a question or comment? Welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People.
Just an observation, Patrick.
Okay.
As we have these conversations, on air on the different talk radio stations, this information is coming out. Well, another thing that's going on. I have a question. Who's funding the people who are addicted to the opioids when they go into central booking, where they pay them $30 to get on methadone maintenance? Who's funding that?
We don't know. I don't know. You could find that out for us and let us know. I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
I didn't know they were even doing that.
As we're gonna unearth all of these kind of funding.
Well, we got to, man, because these people are just, we already have fear of doctors in the black community. But then when you realize that even when you go and they service you and they don't even tell you that there's another way to pay, knowing you don't have any money, it just seems predatory, as the Jim Patrick who called a little earlier said. Gene, is that it? Is that all you wanted to say?
Well, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to email you because I'm about to, my podcast is about to come out. And this Saturday, a lot of these issues that we are talking about on talk radio will be on my podcast.
Now, I'm Patrick Henderson 101 at Gmail.
I know that. I got you, sir.
All right. Looking forward to hearing it.
The other thing that needs to be said is you mentioned several politicians. The Hopkins issues are well beyond those particular politicians. Those politicians are small potatoes with respect to the impact of Hopkins. And Hopkins' policies predates every last one of those people that have been named. So I understand people mentioning certain politicians, but the fact is that it is deeper and more embedded in this city and this state than any one of those politicians.
Well, at least, though, we have an idea. We got a Corey McRae in there who will stand up and say, who knows the difference between chicken boo-boo and chicken salad, and will state it.
And Antonio Hayes as well. Delegate Antonio Hayes. You got to give him.
We would like for you to maybe consider the political angle to come at it there if you're not coming at it real directly.
Right.
And also because they don't like press. Have you talked to Luke Broadwater at the Baltimore Sun or Fenton or any of those guys?
The Baltimore Sun is very much aware of this practice by Hopkins. Like I said, there was a big story that went out over the AP wire.
How long ago?
Like a month ago.
A month ago.
It was very recent. So, this is on everyone's radar.
All right. Okay. Joanna, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. You have a question or comment?
Good afternoon, Patrick. I wanted to mention my experience about John Hopkins and how greedy and money-grabbing they are. I had a fall at a concert. It was pitch black at one of their facilities. No escort. There were no security to assist me, and I was billed for $2,200. It was well noted that it was their fault, but yet I was still charged for $2,200, and I literally had to stand up to them to get the funds taken off my account. So I'm well aware of John Hopkins' greed and their dirty ways of ripping off the black community.
Well, I tell you, it ain't only the black community. It seems like the white community, too. It seems poor people, All right, thank you, sweetheart. I'm sorry, because we've got... I tell you, I like this guy. I didn't know him. I knew his mom, and I'm standing in the lobby of the radio station one day, and I said, I want to meet Corey McRae. And he turned around and introduced himself. Thank you, Senator, for joining us. With perfect timing. Thank you for listening to the show. That's encouraging. We are so honored to have you here. Do you sit on the board of Johns Hopkins?
I sit on the boards of Johns Hopkins, but I think first is most important is just to say thank you for the work that you do, Patrick. I just been jumping in and out of the car. I'm going to meetings. I know when your show on, if I'm in the car, I listen, and I just happen to be listening to portions of the conversation. This went several different directions, from eminent domain to the board to, I think, healthcare funding and then other issues. But I just wanted to make clear that I sit on 0 boards for Johns Hopkins in my time in the legislature, and that's whether I was in the House of Delegates or the newly freshman senator at this moment.
Okay. What was the name of the board that you sit on? Now, you said John Hopkins, but you said it's on the Venomous board, or what was the name of it?
No, I said I sit on 0 boards. I don't sit on any boards.
Right.
He said 0.
No boards.
0. Okay, so I'm so glad you called and cleaned that up.
Yes, but I also wanted to make sure that you have a lot of constituents calling in, have a very high listenership. But for any constituent that's having an issue in that 45th legislative district, and the hospital sits in my footprint, so that it is in the 45th legislative district, always feel free to email me. I answer each and every one of the emails that comes to my office, through my desk, through my computer. I answer them myself, so you don't have anybody else on the other end. That's me who you're corresponding with. My email address is my name, Corey, CORY, .McCray, MCCRAY, at senate.state.md.us. My phone number for my seniors, I think it's very important. I don't answer every phone call, but I do every email. But I work equally as hard on those as 410-841-3165. If it's ever an issue, if you ever wanted to have a meeting, I'm in and out of meetings all day long because I love the city, but most importantly, I love serving its people.
Yes. Senator, by the way, if possible, before the session starts, if we can get you to come on and sit down with us for 60 minutes or 90 minutes, we would greatly appreciate it.
In fact, we're looking for, certainly we've got some legislation we'd like for you to consider to present in January, but I'm understanding you got to start presenting it now in order for it to be on the docket.
If that's the case, Patrick, then I shall probably be sending.
Usually we start drafting bills, I want to say August, September. Typically during the interim, these 9 months, we're actually meeting with folks to talk about legislation that we've either passed and how it's going into effect, or if it's working the way it's supposed to work, or new ideas. So you're absolutely right.
Senator, this is Richard Terry.
I apologize. I heard Richard, but I didn't hear the last name.
Terry. T as in Tom, ERRY.
Okay.
You will be seeing within the next 24 hours a series of legislative proposals that some of your colleagues have already seen.
Okay. And has it been introduced already, or no, this will be the first time it's introduced also?
Well, these are just proposals. They have not been introduced yet, but they're going out now in hopes that they can be introduced come the next legislative session.
Yes, we'd like your counsel on them. We've been working on them for a minute. Richard is just great at writing them. He has a long history of it. But thank you, Senator. We appreciate this so much.
And I don't do this all the time, but it's nothing but respect for the work that you do. These folks will know that Corey McCray don't be calling in all the radio shows. I just respect you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's an honor coming from you. I bless you, and I thank you for that, sir. Thank you so much.
Day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Don't you touch that dial. We've got Senator Barbara Robinson sitting here. Y'all know who she is. We're going to talk to her. She's going to give us the 411 on the 411. Be right back. Don't you touch that dial.
This is not the time to get distracted.
Talking the day, soul at night on the new 1010 WOLB.
Let's make a positive shout out to the Baltimore News Network program. They have been on WOLB for over 10 years, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Make the positive call and congratulate them on years of providing information. As you know, information is power for the people. Spread the word about this strong program happening every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Hear what's going on in the city and around the country. Tune into the Baltimore News Network program here on WOLB 1010 a.m., where information is power.
Tune in every first and third Tuesday to the Mentoring Clinic radio show broadcast from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Hosted by Brother Arthur Burrell, mentor and life coach. Also co-host Brother Abdul Rahim, the Hat Man, Malachi Shakur, the rapper, and Melanin Reigns, writer of the spoken word. Don't miss a show of the Mentoring Clinic, a child-friendly place to imagine the possibilities. For more info, call 410-493-1395 and tune in this upcoming Tuesday.
Did you miss breakfast with the Larry Young Morning Show? We got you. Have lunch with Labor every Tuesday, 12 until 1 o'clock on WOLB 1010 AM. David and you and labor issues that matter.
Lunch with Labor every Tuesday, 12 to 1 p.m. Labor issues that affect and matter to you. Tune in every Tuesday, 12 to 1 p.m. on WOLB.
WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore.
The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear on 1010 WOLB
are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers.
It's done unto you as you believe. It's done unto you as you believe.
We're going to get there somehow. You got to press your way through the crowd. Welcome back to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. I want to thank Senator McCray for calling in. Let me see. I got somebody. Well, that's Richard. Okay, we lost Richard. You got it. Okay. No, it's not. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Who is it? Leo? Okay, great. Sorry about that. I hope it didn't binge your ear too much. Well, Malcolm.
Yes.
You don't have to leave. I want you to stay because this next person that I'm getting ready to introduce, she's just a beautiful lady, so charming and so gregarious. In other words, she likes people. She likes people, and she has a long history as an elected official here in Baltimore. And I met her, I guess, about 3 or 4 years ago. I thought she was my representative, and she wasn't. But that didn't stop her from getting in there and trying to help me do what I wanted to do. Please welcome former Senator Barbara Robinson. How are you, Senator?
I'm good. And thank you for having me here.
Well, good to see you.
You know, it's interesting, the show that you were doing. And I'm glad that you're staying on top of things.
Yes, ma'am.
And not afraid to tackle some of the things that really do need to be addressed.
Yes, ma'am. I tell you what, my friend said to me, he said, you know what, Patrick, he said, they don't say nothing no more. You come from places where it's unbelievable some of this crap that's happening, and you're not used to it, so you go, well, hold up. Wait a minute. There's such as these speed cameras all over the city, predominantly in black neighborhoods. From Liberty all the way up to Mondawmin Mall, it's 12 cameras, speed cameras on the main route that people have to get up in the morning and go to work. It's just predatory. It is discriminatory, and I'm going to keep saying it, but I ain't gonna get off on that right now because I don't want to change my mind. I'm cooking right now. She did? Oh, you're so sweet.
What did I do?
He said you brought me a gift?
I did. Because each time that we come on, we talk about my books. I'm an author. I've written 11 books. I have 6 published. And each time we come on, we talk. But I don't think that I've ever... So I bought you copies of each of my 6 books.
Love it.
And what's really... I'm so glad is that... Amazon is taking all of them and looked at them and they've always been on Amazon, but they wanted to put them together as a journey. They said, this is a journey from, especially with this Me Too movement, women being abused, etc. And they looked at it and said, this is a journey from where you were to where you are and all in between.
Chronology, yes.
Right. So let's make it a series. So we're making it a series called Moments in Time.
Moments in Time.
Right.
Wow, I love that.
And there's someone that's working with me from here in Maryland, and they also got in contact with someone in Athens, Greece. that's working to pull all of this together. So I brought you, as I said, copies of.
She brought me the collection.
I did.
Did somebody tell you that I love to read?
Here's a pen.
Yes, please give that to you. You should sign all of it. I love to read, and I can. You know what? The one thing my mother did great things for us. She did the best she could. My dad, was a real estate broker, and he got saved. Then he became a gambler and stopped providing for the family, and she eventually had to start work. But before she had to work every day, she was a reader. She read every biography of every president in the United States. She had an 8th grade education. Okay,
that's how I became a writer, because I was a reader. Mm-hmm. Even in 7th grade, I had an article in the paper, a column in the school paper called "Smile a While." And whenever there were contests for readers, I always was one of the winners. And I wanted to come because we have so many young people and so many women that are stuck in yesterday.
Yes.
And
with no idea of how to get out of it.
Right.
And they're not living in the present.
Right.
How has life changed for you now that you're no longer a senator?
I love being me.
You always was.
A lot of I had some constraints and restraints. And I say this is the 3rd time that I have retired. I retired from the Maryland court system. I integrated the restrooms there and started women being able to wear slacks there.
Really?
Started black women being able to wear the natural hairdo.
Wow.
And I was the first woman and the first African American in the history of the court system to be deputy administrator of the district court, the circuit court, and the Supreme Bench. So I retired from that and started my business in the basement of my home. And I had 3 companies. I had 162 people on my payroll.
Wow.
And I turned that into a multi-million-dollar corporation. So then after my husband passed, I didn't see anybody in Annapolis that understood small business. Ray Haysbert and Walter Dean, we're and Lou Fields, we're the co-founders of the Greater Baltimore Black Chamber of Commerce.
What?
And I started also, I founded the Minority Women Business Association in D.C., Virginia, and Maryland. And when I became a business owner and I fought so many years against state agencies trying to take over my company, and especially in the healthcare industry. And of 250 providers in Maryland, there were only 5 blacks. And the state tried to make the 5 blacks merge into one. And I was one of the 5 blacks. So when I refused, when I pushed back, they conveniently closed up 2 of the 5 blacks. And when they came after me, I pushed back. And I was financially able
to do it. Come on.
To push back. And the ones that they closed were not financially able. So seeing what the government was actually doing, my attorney came to me and said, you need to be on the inside and making laws and looking at how these regulations are actually impacting on small businesses. So that's the reason, and I retired from my company.
And went into...
And jumped in the race, and I was the oldest one and the most inexperienced one, but failure was not an option.
Yes.
And I jumped in the race to run for the House of Delegates back in 2006.
Wow.
To be able to fight for small and minority businesses. And I really got some bills passed, because the government at that time was considering, whenever the government talked about so many millions of dollars that they were putting into the black community for minority businesses, they were considering like Emerge, Kennedy Krieger, and all of these multi-million-dollar 501c3 nonprofits. But a 501c3 nonprofit is not a minority business by the sheer definition of what a minority business is. 51% owned and operated, but you can never own a 501c3. And I wrote a bill, and it took 5 years to get that bill passed, to say that a non-profit, a 501c3 non-profit is not to be considered as a for-profit. And when I was able to get that House Bill 48, I never will forget it, under O'Malley, when I put this bill in, which freed up $800 million to now go to minority businesses.
Wow.
And those are the type of people that we need in legislation now, that are not only not afraid to bite the bullet, but understand what the bullet is.
Hey, come on, in the room.
You can't have somebody there talking about I'm fighting for a minority business when you have no clue what a minority business is, or how the legislation that's there actually impact the money. Everything that we do is legislated.
Yes.
From the bread that you buy in the grocery stores to everything else. And if you don't understand what's happening in the black community, you're a day late and a dollar short. And I can speak from that, from sitting on the appropriation committee for 10 years in the House of Delegates, and then being a state senator, sitting on the healthcare environment EHE committee in as a state senator.
Do you get many calls from for advice?
Still. And that was one of the reasons. And I met with somebody from the governor's office. I won't go into who or what. We had breakfast one morning about a month ago, and asked, why don't you start doing some consultant for small businesses? Well, I do that anyway. And I had been doing so much now as like I just came back from Paris because they pulled together a group of people from Milan and from New York, and they call it the brightest minds, and I was
one of the brightest.
Yeah.
Come on in the room.
And I was so glad, all expenses paid, and so we came back.
Wow.
And I'll be in Dubai in October for a month, doing some training.
Well,
also
you better be careful over. You better be careful over there. She still look good. She look good for a senior. They be trying to find them sex slaves over there. So you make sure you take out somebody. You go hard on you.
One of the Middle Eastern gentlemen.
Exactly. She's still gorgeous as she ever was.
Patrick, I had a quick question there.
Yes.
So,
hold on.
I've been proclaiming this since you came on the first time about your possible Lifetime TV movie, or maybe even on Oprah or Home Network. How's that moving forward?
It's moving.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we met with someone last week. It's just such an honor. When I talk about being homeless at 16 and coming from abuse and molestation and it's just to where I used to be to where I am
now. Yes. It's quite a story.
It is.
It is fascinating. Listen,
God has been good.
Oh no, He's not only been good, but He's been a blessing to you. And because He blessed you, He blessed us because you blessed others. Like my mother says, He can trust you. I know that you had a little problem going on in there, but He can trust you. I love you to life. Hi, Key. I'm sorry to keep you. Thank you for waiting, sir. Do you have a question or comment?
Yes, Brother Haki, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Very well.
Oh, okay. Well, I have two things now, but let me first. One of the callers mentioned that Warren Branch was the councilman over on East Side, and he is no longer the councilman. Shannon Sneed is the councilwoman in that district.
Okay. Did you know that, Malcolm?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So let me just. One of the callers mentioned that.
Okay.
But I wanted to just say, and let me give a welcome to my senator. Barbara Robinson. It was good to see you at the Black Chamber meeting last week.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. Some great things are happening there and going to be happening there. I'm so proud of the legacy that we are leaving.
Absolutely. Yes, and so now I am a member again. So that's a good thing to reconnect to, But I'll just also, and I'm happy that you're talking about your books, because I did mention about the Billie Holiday weekend, and we're going to have Authors Expo. There's going to be a parade down Pennsylvania Avenue. That's August 30th. and the 31st. So I just encourage people to reach out, about that. And I'll just, one more thing. The Black Chamber of, not the Chamber, the Maryland Legislative Black Caucus weekend is this Saturday. So I know you're going to say something about that, Senator, but of course you being the former chair president of the Black Caucus, I'm sure, your input and your value.
Ooh. I mean, that's High Key, I got to get you off there because I got some questions for her. God bless you, my friend. Thank you so much for calling. We're going to go to Black Wolves. Brother Messiah, I want you to hold on. I want to get the other lines clear. Romel, welcome to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Do you have a question or comment, sir?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, sir.
You asked the question earlier that some of the things that they're doing, like John Hopkins, are against the law. Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, they make the law. So they change them as they please. And the brother said, he spoke on that word fear. And the thing is, the toward fear we possess, that's what prevents us from one powerful word, which is unity. We are so full of fear, we will not unite. That's our hold up right there. We're scared to death. That's all I got to say about it.
Man, that's, what, Romel, I tell the story of us Martin Luther King coming to Dallas when I was a little boy, and we wanted to go see him. I wanted to go see him. He's born on my birthday. I was born on his birthday. So I wanted to see him. My mother said, absolutely not. I said, why, Mom? Why not? She said, because when he leaves here, these white folks going to go crazy. And he ain't going to be here to protect us or nothing. So you keep your tail in this house.
Right.
So, sir, no, man, they put the fear into us in so many ways. So you're right, Romel, but you can't stop us now. What do we have fear?
All we got to do is make it work.
That's all we do. Thank you, Romel, for bringing that up. Hold up, Brother Messiah. I got something I want to talk to you about. The Congressional Black Caucus, why is it so difficult to build a consensus with them? Are there disparate sort of different interests, or are they being paid money to vote against the best interest of black people and who the moniker says they're supposed to represent because we elected them? Am I wrong?
No, there too. Congressional Black Caucus is totally different from the Maryland Black Caucus.
Okay.
The Congressional Black Caucus consists of individuals. They represent Congress, but these are individuals from California, from all over. The Maryland Black Caucus consists of individuals here in Maryland from the legislators, from the House of Delegates and the senators. So they are totally, totally different. Now, you do have Black Caucus, the National Black Caucus.
No, I'm talking about the state of Maryland.
Okay.
Consistent.
With the state of Maryland, that's Maryland Black Caucus, the Maryland Legislative Black Caucus. And yeah, I was a member, I was the chair. I was the first vice chair for 2 years. I was second vice chair for 2 years. And I was chair for 2 years.
Why can't they come together and work together? Now, that's the question. Now, thank God you was in all them positions, but what's the 411?
Because you have so many people with so many ideas and really do not want to work together. And you know what? I can say this now because I am not under the constraints of the Ethics Commission, so they can't sanction what I say. You have so many people. When Cheryl Glenn was chair of the caucus, she was one of the ones that didn't mind standing up and if she had to stand by herself. Now, Darrell Barnes is the chair now, but you cannot run it by yourself. You have individuals from Prince George's County, from Anne Arundel County, and all of these individuals from these various counties are looking at what's good for my county. Right. And looking at Baltimore, you don't know how hard the legislators from Baltimore really have to fight because everybody's looking at Baltimore as a cash cow. When you want to put in legislation, the first thing they look at, how is it going to impact my constituents? So if we stop looking at my, and start looking at we can get things done. Just look at with Adrian Jones. She's now Speaker of the House.
Right.
by right, and she's been Speaker Pro Tem for so many years, and she's doing one heck of a job. So when Mike Bush passed, and Adrian Jones is running, Derek Davis is running, and Maggie McIntosh. So looking at the voters there, Adrian, as gracious as she is, decided to step down, and let Derek run because he had more voters than she did. It was such a pick and choose. It was such a fight that they were not going to get Derek. They were not going to get Maggie. You had the Black Chamber. I mean, the legislators divided as who they were going to vote. Nobody got together to stick and say that we will get this person in. You know, and then you had the Democratic Party dividing who were they going to get. Only when you had this division did all of them come together, and then Maggie stood up and recommended Adrian, who should have gotten it in the first place. And I'm just so glad.
I got to go back to Cheryl Glenn, though. I've had several issues with her, and I noticed that she protects the scoundrels. They're so protective of each other, and I found that to be unsettling.
Like who?
And I'm not gonna go into it because I haven't got that much time, but I will. Y'all have you back on, and we can rip them down. Okay. But I can tell you that I don't find her to be standing up for the people. She tends to be pacifying the people that were within the caucus as she was directing them. And I find that disturbing. I also find the attitude of politicians in this city disturbing.
Absolutely.
They act like they're doing us a favor instead of the other way around. I've been in meetings where if you didn't say Senator so-and-so, Senator, they'll let you know.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
Please, this time, people, y'all need to get it twisted. They've got it twisted. We need to turn it back around. They work for us. We don't work for them.
And then if I call your office and I tell you that this tree branch, I don't want you to tell me that this is a city issue.
Right.
Okay,
I want you to solve
just say, okay, I'll get back.
Yes.
Then you call the city representative.
Yes.
Because I don't necessarily know who my city representative is.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying this is a constituent.
Yes, ma'am.
That would call my office.
Service.
Federal, state, city, whatever. Whenever you called my office, if I didn't know the answer, I said I'll get back to you. And I did.
They don't understand that they are servants.
Absolutely.
Civil servants.
And that's the first
But
thing.
we don't understand civics. As constituents.
Hello.
And Richard, that's one thing we want to present to the school board. That's another thing we want to do this year. We've been working on with Richard. Richard is just brilliant in this. Is that we want to go to the school board. We want civics in every junior high school. We want our children Black history. Because science is proving that when children know who they are, when there's Black African American studies in those schools, those children fare better with their learning.
It's not just the children. I can't tell you how many times I was asked to come over to University of Baltimore to speak to the class.
Oh, I bet.
About civics.
We
got
to do it.
All right.
I've had my issues with Cheryl Glenn and the Legislative Black Caucus for the past year.
But she keeps getting reelected, and I don't know why. Senator Robinson, thank you. Bless you. And I'm going to be in touch with you because I want you to come and talk to our children from 16 years old and tell them how you did what you did so they can see a Black woman. Not only that withstood the test of time, but has been incredibly successful and also been a blessing to the people. Thank you for joining us today.
And
you can get her books, and I can't wait to start reading them on Amazon. Just put her name in.
Or you can go to barbararobinson.info.
Okay.
Or email me at barbara4025@verizon.net.
All right, very good. Thank you, Senator.
I just want to know how she made out in Paris last week.
Well, you can ask after the table. I want to know some restaurants over there. You can be over there. All right, God bless. I'm going to go to Thomas and then Mosiah. I'm coming to you. Thomas, you have a question or comment?
Yes, I wanted to thank Senator Barbara Robinson. She's very responsive. When she was the senator, she actually she lamented about. I remember hearing her on the another show. I'm not gonna say the name of the show. She was lamenting about why they were destroying our neighborhoods with the lack of affordable housing we have in Baltimore. They were destroying these neighborhoods, and she was actually the only person in that body, legislative body, that even had any concern about why they would tear down these houses in the black community exclusively. And she was, we contacted her, our organization Homes contacted her, and she came to our rally. She spoke at our rally outside of City Hall, and she was very responsive to what we were trying to do.
Thanks, Thomas. I think that sounded like Tyrone. Wasn't that Tyrone Boast? I think it was. Another one. You know what, Norman? I'm sorry, I can't take your call because we. Okay. All right, Norman, you must be pulling in the house. You got a question or comment? What's up? What do you have?
No, I'm at the baseball All-Star game in Cleveland, Ohio. Talk to Louis Bills.
Oh,
what?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He's on for the wrong show.
Duh. Sorry, sir. Hold on. Messiah, Black Wolves. Thank you for holding, sir. Will you tell us what's going on in here? August the 17th, something is going on in this city that has never happened in the world. In Baltimore City, in Harlem Park. Do you want to tell us all about it, brother Messiah?
Aru.
Where's Messiah?
Hello, this is Jarrell. Hello, this is Jarrell, Wolfpack leader.
We can barely hear you going in and out.
And come off a speaker if you're on speaker.
And if you're on the speaker, come off the speaker. Come on. Hello?
Hello, this is Jarrell. You hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Jarrell. Jarrell is a member of the Black Wolves. Go right ahead, Jarrell. Make the announcement.
All right. My name is Jarrell.
How old are you, Jarrell?
I'm a Wolfpack leader.
Uh-huh.
And the Black Wolves Youth Scouts.
Okay. How old are you?
Okay.
How old are you?
I'm 14.
Okay, keep going. What do you want to tell us?
Okay. I have something to say. Go have a speech that I want to say.
Go right ahead. Come quickly. You know what? It's too late, buddy. I'm sorry. We've run out of time. But I want to tell you all that Jarrell is working with Brother Messiah and the Black Wolves, and they are doing an incredible job over on Fulton Avenue. If you drive down Fulton Avenue, on every vacant house, they have painted the red, black, and green black national flags. They are on the streets every day there. Their summer camp is being held there. They are selling watermelon and sweet potato cheesecake pies and bean pies. Drive through there. You'll see their flags and see our young people. They make a commission on everything they sell there. They're taking monies every day home to their families so that they can help not only with the undergird their mothers. Many of them don't have fathers that they know of. So we want to congratulate them and thank them. Yes, come quickly.
Mr. Patrick,
yes.
kind of stole my spotlight.
What did you say? What'd you say?
You stole my spotlight.
I saw your thunder. Sorry about that, buddy. Thanks for calling, though. But you can call it. You can get it again at any time because I admire you, smart little boy. Well, we got to get out of here.
They're standing outside.
We need 2 hours. Call the station.
I know. We've been listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. God bless you. Thank each and every one of you. See you next Sunday at 3:30 on 1400 and every Monday at 11:30 here on WOLB 1010. You've been listening to Patrick Henderson's Meet the People. Have a great week.
Your destiny.
WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore. Brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel.
Bernice was in deep trouble with the IRS.
I owed $25,000 to the IRS. How am I ever going to work this out?
She called Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm.
They always took the time to make sure that I understood everything 100%. It was like the easiest thing to do.
A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, Optima has resolved over $500 million for their clients. Bernice was very happy.
No more being afraid to go to the mail. No more being afraid to answer the phone. No further collection, no liens, no levies. Now I don't have to worry at all.
The bottom line for Bernice?
I'm now debt-free. What more proof do you need that Optima Tax Relief actually works?
For tax help you can trust, call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation.
Optima Tax Relief actually delivers what they say they'll deliver. They went above and beyond.
Call 800-799-0977. 800-799-0977. 800-799-0977.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
WOLB Baltimore and